Hey traders, welcome back to BalarezoCapital. On today's video, we're gonna go through the weekly watch list and we're also gonna take a look at the market update. I'm actually traveling this weekend and I wanna make this video just before I go to the airport. So this is gonna be just a quick update for the market. And this is actually a pretty cool day. I just received a notification from vidIQ. The channel has already more than 17,000 views, which is actually pretty cool. This is something that I created with the purpose and the intention to continue to share my journey as a trader and of course share the things that I learned. That way a lot of traders can join the community, share ideas, and a lot of new traders can actually learn and speed their learning curve by watching some other traders share their experience. So that's the main purpose of the channel, and I'm pretty grateful for your support, guys. So let's just jump into the video and make sure to stick all the way to the end. So before we continue with the video, guys, remember that this video is for informational purposes only, is based just on my personal opinion and is not financial advice. So before we jump into the video, let's just make a quick recall of what we were talking about in last week's video. And that video was mainly talking about NVDA, right? We were talking about Nvidia, how this setup was really shaping for a test of 1000. Let me just take these market webs boxes just out of the way so that we can see the chart a little bit cleaner. We were talking about the possibility of Nvidia, and let me just get my drawing tools, just give me 1 second. We were talking about the possibility of Nvidia going to this 1000 level, and what is actually really interesting is that I do think that we still have a path all the way to that 1000 level. Now what I have right here is just gonna be a pretty common demand zone, right? You can see this black candle right here. As soon as we break above it, that is usually a very strong level of demand. You can see right now that Nvidia is pulling back right into that level. Also, this black line right here is gonna be the 0618 retracement, Fibonacci retracement measured from this low right here to this high right here. So far Nvidia is actually resting pretty nicely. This could be a possible higher low, right? So if Nvidia happens to just consolidate a little bit above this 900 level, remember that we were talking about that level last week, I do think that we have a possible path all the way to that 1000 level. And one of the reasons that I do think that we could go to that level is because of the action on the SPX. And if we just take a look at the SPX here, we can see that we are retesting this high right here, right? Remember that we were talking about this 5250 level, and we were talking about the possibility of seeing a pullback if we remained below that level. And what actually happened is that we had that pullback. So we had that pullback, we came all the way to this 5200 level. We didn't exactly test this breakout area right here, but we came here, kind of came all the way to that 8 exponential moving average, and now we're back at this level of resistance. Now I don't know if we're just gonna do a V-shape rally all the way to this 5300 level. Remember that we were talking about that level last week as a very important level of resistance. Now I would love to see a little bit of pause here in the market, and then perhaps a little bit of a test down below into this possible demand area right here, and then perhaps a continuation back into that 5300 level. Now, one of the reasons that I do think that the market is a little bit extended is if we take a look at the RSP. And the RSP is basically gonna be the equal weighted ETF of the S&P 500. So it's actually, I have found a lot of success watching the RSP and also watching the SPX, because you tend to get a really cool idea of when the market is actually extended or support by looking at the equal weighted. And you can see right here that we had a pretty massive rally in the equal weighted. We didn't see a lot of participation from the mega caps, and we can see right here that the market is extended. This black line here is going to be the 1618 extension measured from this level here to this level here, and we're coming right into that level of resistance. So I wouldn't be surprised I wouldn't be surprised if we happen to see a little bit of a pause in the market, perhaps a pullback. That will be an amazing opportunity to buy this market, perhaps for another continuation higher. And one of the sectors that I really like is going to be the IWM. And what is really amazing about the IWM is that you can see right here, if we just take a look at this chart, we can clearly see this gigantic cup and handle pattern that we have right here, right? And if we happen to break above this pattern, which we are breaking right now, I do think that we're gonna see a really nice continuation, especially in these Russell 2000 related names. Now, of course, I don't want to buy the market right here. You can see how amazing these Fibonacci levels actually work. This again is also the 1618 extension measured from the most recent swing, and you can see that we're coming right into that extension, which is actually pretty cool. You can see right here that the price is stopping at that level. And then of course, I don't want to buy the market right there. I will prefer to see a pullback back into these moving averages, back into demand, and then perhaps that's going to be a really nice opportunity to get long. That's going to be basically for the markets. The markets are looking pretty bullish. We took a look at the SPX, we took a look at the IWM, and of course we took a look at one of the most important names that is leading this rally, that has been leading this rally for a while, which is of course NVDA. Now for the names that I'm going to be watching, this is going to be the focus list. I do share the link to this focus list. I do change the names as we progress in the week. So if you want to find that link, it's going to be in the description. That way you can always follow this bullish list that I keep updating basically every single day. And I usually try to do my best to keep the list be under or equal to 5 names. So the first name that I'm going to be watching is going to be LLY, which is Eli Lilly company. And what is really interesting here is that we saw a little bit of selling right here into this level of resistance, but we continue to trend really nicely above those moving averages. If we happen to see a little bit more consolidation here, I do think that we have a path all the way to 800 and perhaps above it. Really nice name, shaping really nicely. That's going to be LLY. Then of course Google continues to look pretty nicely here. I do think that there is a path for Google all the way to 156, holding pretty nicely above the moving averages. We had this giant gap on some news related to the name. I think it was a partnership with Apple. I don't remember exactly, but the important thing is that the price is looking pretty bullish. Perhaps a test of that 8 exponential is going to give us a really nice entry, and then perhaps a continuation to the upside. This name is looking pretty nice, pretty bullish. Then I do have AMD. What is actually pretty interesting about AMD is that basically it has been lagging in comparison to the SMH and other semiconductor names, but you can see right here that the momentum continues to be positive. And what AMD is doing right now, we're just testing this previous level of resistance, which is actually acting as a pretty important level of support. So if you take a quick look at AMD here, you can see that we're starting to form kind of this round cup right here. So any break above this cup, I do think that there's a path all the way to 195, perhaps a little bit above to 200. So this one is looking pretty nicely in terms of risk reward. Perhaps buying your position in AMD as close to this demand zone as possible, then perhaps having your stop here. That's gonna give you a really nice risk reward in this setup, and is looking pretty amazing. Then I do have Qualcomm. This one is looking pretty nice. You can see how nicely this continues to contract, and usually what happens when you have these types of contraction is that you do get an expansion in price. And of course, based on the momentum that we continue to be positive, my assumption is that this is going to break to the upside. You can see how much this volume has continued to drive, meaning that basically as we consolidate, a lot of the buyers are absorbing that supply. That is usually the assumption that we can make when we see this type of price action. So this one is also looking pretty nicely. And then the last name, I think, what was the last name that I have here? It's going to be CRWD. The thing about CRWD is that it is really choppy, but I do think that we're forming a base here. Any break above this high these highs, I do think that it's going to be pretty powerful. This 50 daily moving average continues to catch up with the price. I have seen it many times. When you get some type of consolidation sideways, sometimes price is just waiting for that 50 daily moving average to come. Price usually gives that 50 daily moving average a kiss, and then all of a sudden you finally get the breakout above that area. This one is looking pretty nice, and of course you can manage your position using that 50 daily moving average. And I think that's gonna be it for the list. I do have a very speculative play for next week. That's gonna be on Reddit. This one is gonna be more on the speculation side, but this is actually looking pretty interesting, right? This is a new IPO name, and it's actually pretty fun to trade these names. But of course, we have to understand that it's better to buy these names when no one wants to buy them, and that's usually at demand, right? We don't have a lot of information, right? We don't have any information about momentum. We basically don't have any moving averages, so basically we just can, the only way we can trade this is actually watching at price exactly. But I do think that this level here is interesting, given that this is a very volatile name, perhaps at the middle of that demand zone or perhaps below it, in the bottom of the range. That perhaps is going to give us a really nice risk reward for this trade. But then of course I do think that there's going to be, if we happen to see a rally in the market, a continuation, I do think that this name perhaps is going to offer some really nice returns. But of course this is going to be more of kind of a speculation play. But that's going to be it for the video, guys. I don't want to make this a really long video. I'm just super grateful for the community and for the support, guys. And I wish you an amazing long weekend, and I will see you next week. Take care and bye bye.